guys, and good morning, and welcome to Miret Team Live Real Estate Sales Talk, right here on WPSL, talking the Treasure Coast, with Christine, Chris, and a very special guest.
Yes. Hello, Greg. We are very, very excited to have one of my favorite people here with us as our guest, Janelle Laurenzano. She is our operating principal of Keller Williams, also the general manager of all 5 of our market centers, going from Vero Beach down to Palm Beach Gardens. So thank you very much for joining us, Janelle. We know how busy you are.
Thank you, Chris, and you're too kind. That $20 I gave you before we came on air paid off, huh?
Absolutely. You know, when I have to make a phone call to Janelle, and luckily it's not too often, it's when things are going quite sideways in a deal. And so to say the anxious level, it can get up there pretty quickly. So to have a leader at the top that is as knowledgeable as Janelle is, and more importantly, who answers her phone every single time. And
what?
Yes, there are people there that do this. That's one of the greatest things. So we're able to put those to bed and get things closed, which is the name of the game.
Yeah, how often are you getting frantic phone calls like that?
So it's funny you say it, because I do, I hear that all the time. I can't believe you answer your phone, and that's from buyers, sellers, agents, not only within our company, but outside of the company. It's really a passion of mine.
Sure.
And I know the number one complaint that people have about their real estate agent is they don't answer the phone.
Agreed.
So I just made a vow that I will never be that type of person. And for me, it's really important to be able to support the agents.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's definitely, very much appreciated for us. So as we mentioned, you're the leader, you're the general manager of all 5 of our market centers. How many agents are under our umbrella currently?
Yeah, so we're about 980 agents.
Fantastic.
And I started out as a team leader, actually as an agent, then went to a team leader, which I was overseeing one office. That was our Vero Beach office.
Right.
I launched that. I was the first one in.
Yep.
And grew that, then took over as broker general manager. And actually just recently I became our operating partner of the 5 offices. So 980 agents. It's a lot.
Absolutely. That's a lot of voices. And do you have what is the most common challenge that agents are coming to you for? Can you narrow it down to 1 or 2 things that are most prevalent?
Yeah, Chris, that's a great question. I think it depends on the market.
Sure.
Right? Right now, we're seeing a lot of issues with buyers having buyer's remorse. They think they paid too much. Sellers actually having seller's remorse because they felt like, they didn't get enough, or now they have to find something else and they can't find it.
Sure.
So I think the obstacles and the challenges we face are shifting just as much as the market shifts.
Absolutely.
So it changes all the time, but 99% of what I do is communication.
Yes.
And helping people navigate through people problems. Right?
Absolutely.
When you become at this level, yes, there's contract issues, but most times it's people problems.
Absolutely.
We just got to kind of get everyone on the same sheet of music and move forward.
Yeah. Agreed 100%. I like to tell people we're paid to be problem solvers. That's what we're there to do. It's a very emotional transaction on both sides. The agents are emotional, the lenders, title, everyone involved. There's so many moving parts trying to get us to the closing table, and we have to be the calming force as agents, keep everyone calm and solve the problems. A lot of times, the good agents don't even get back to the clients. Yeah. That's the best case scenario, when they don't even know about all the fires you put out prior to getting to closing.
Well, I'm sorry. It's really funny that you say that, because I always tell people, most buyers and sellers, they think it's easy to sell real estate.
Yes.
And I have had multiple buyers and sellers when I was actually actively selling in real estate that wanted to become an agent. And to me, that was the biggest compliment.
Sure.
Because it meant that I made it look like it was easy, right? Yep. And then when they get into the industry, they realize how many problems the agents are solving behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very complex. So being a new agent, I've come to realize that, I was hanging out with Chris for a year and a half prior to joining his team, and I witnessed a lot of conversations. But once you really are into it, you then realize the complexity and the challenges that come up. And he's still 28 plus years, he's still dealing with situation that he's not dealt with before. There's just so many unique situations that come to surface when you're going through a transaction. And I think what Chris said is keeping people calm, being that calming force, and not letting them know. A lot of times he'll know there's an issue that needs to be resolved, and he'll try to resolve it before he even brings it forward, right? Get that resolution, and then, okay, this is what I did and just keeping people and their emotions at a level that's,
You just hit a spot that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Because I always say that's the difference between talent and non-talent.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yes.
Talent has a solution,
Yep.
right? There's a problem, but they have a solution.
Sure.
And when they bring the problem to the other party, they already have a solution.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where non-talent throws the problem out there and says, fix it.
Yes.
Right? And then they wonder why it's exploding.
So I think, getting into this business and thinking, oh, well, I'm good at selling, or I love people, right? This is a people business, which is all true. And it is important to be a good salesperson and negotiator and all that. But there's so much more that's involved in, selling real estate and handling one of the biggest, most important decisions and moments of people's lives.
Do you learn with every transaction?
Yes. Yeah, you definitely do. And you really learn to appreciate, I don't know if you could ever say an easy transaction, but easy people, the good clients. And, I'm blessed to, have thousands of past clients that are very loyal to me. That makes up a big portion of my business. And you really appreciate those because, we definitely deal with some challenging people. And Christine can attest to that. Our first transaction together, I told her I would have walked out of it multiple times before we even signed the listing agreement, but I stuck in there for her.
I'm like, you're not leaving this moment. We are doing this.
We got it to the closing table, but
Okay.
yeah, I tell Christine and I tell her regularly that problems, when there's an issue, it normally does not get easier. Mm-hmm. It just progresses and magnifies as you get closer to the transaction, whether it be, our clients, whether it be the lender, title, anyone that we're relying on for information and for them to do their part for our job to close. If they're not answering their phone or doing their job, they're not going to get better as it gets going. You need to get out in front of it.
Yeah. And I mean, to your point, communication, just over communicating and communicating at a high level is really important. So even I thought I was doing that with this one client, and it was multiple times a day that this client wanted to have conversations with me. And there was a lot of anxiety around selling her home, and she had another home in New Jersey, and we were trying to move her house from Florida up to Jersey, and she was an older lady and recently lost her husband. So all that goes into it, and you're having to manage through that entire process. So it is a very complicated role, a very important role. And to your point earlier, Janelle, people don't realize, when they're trying to sell for sale by owners, right? The importance of a realtor. And we do all that for free until we sell your home or find you a home to purchase.
Yeah.
So you're almost psychologists in a way.
Yes.
Yeah,
100%. I wouldn't use that word, but there is a lot of psychology that we need to understand how to interact with people, how to diffuse situations. Mm-hmm. I'm an avid reader and learner about how to work with people. Sure. And I think a lot of real estate agents don't realize that. They think it's a sales position, and it's so much more than that because you're dealing with heated tempers, emotions. Think about the majority of times when someone's going to buy or sell a property, there's been a life-changing event.
Sure.
And it could be death, divorce, a baby, a marriage. There's something emotional most times, unless it's an investor, right? Investors they're looking at numbers. So there's usually a lot of emotion to the transaction.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And let's start with, you have a really interesting story. Can you take us from the beginning when you were a real estate agent? Because you were in the trenches with us, and you did it, and so you've seen all facets of real estate, and it's a real interesting story. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit on your journey to where you're at now.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'm going to just step backwards a little bit before I got into real estate. I worked for the Army for 14 years. I was chief of their electro-optics night vision division, which sounds really
very cool.
Very
yeah,
cool.
it feels like, whoa, right?
Night goggles.
Right, yes. If I tell you, I'll have to kill you, Christine. Sorry.
Boy.
Gotcha.
Don't tell me that.
I did a lot of things overseas,
Yep.
and I was involved with Afghanistan, Iraq, Kuwait, like good
Wow.
stuff. And I decided to step away from that. So, but really one of the main things I did working for the military was taking units or divisions that were failing and building them up. So it was almost like when you have a consultant come into a business and they revamp it for you. That's kind of what I did, but we gave it fancy names because we were in the military and a lot of acronyms, right?
I was just going to say, I'm sure you have some interesting acronyms.
Yes.
I read a lot of military books, and they always talk about those acronyms.
Exactly. So when I decided to get into real estate, I actually took 2 years before I came into real estate, and I studied the industry. I came up with a business plan, a pro forma. I had goals.
Fantastic.
And I came into real estate. I had enough money that if I didn't make $1, I would have been okay.
Yep.
I thought this is what you did as a real estate
Sure.
agent. And once I got into the industry, I realized
You're
no
an
one
outlier.
did that.
You're an
I
outlier
was an
for
outlier.
certain.
I was the weird one, right? Who's sitting in my office with a P&L wondering what other people's mission statement was.
Sure.
It was just like,
Yeah.
I didn't understand. So I was with a brokerage, and I started doing the math. And the reason I got into real estate was I had 3 very bad experiences with real estate agents.
Okay.
And I thought, you know what, this is something, I love having the rewards of my own work,
Yep.
right? And then I said, this is something I can make a difference in the lives of people.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to know it all. I wanted to study it. So about 6 months in, I'm like, I don't know if this is right for me. I felt like there was like a bigger calling. So I almost immediately decided that I wanted to either open my own brokerage, run a brokerage, whatever. So I started studying for my broker's exam, which took me you have to be in the business 2 years to do that.
Right.
My first year, I was a top producer in Indian River County, and then I just started growing from there. I was approached to open the office in Keller Williams, or Keller Williams with the Vero office. I opened it. We became number 2 in number of transactions in about 14 months, which was
Amazing.
unheard of.
Absolutely amazing.
So from there, that opened opportunities. I eventually became the broker and general manager of 5 offices. We cover Palm Beach Gardens, Jupiter, Treasure Coast, which includes Palm City, Port St. Lucie, and Vero Beach. And then eventually I became the operating partner and qualifying broker. Now, I've built a team around me. There is no way. People will say to me, how can you oversee 980 agents? That's inhumanly impossible. Well, you know what? Smart business people have successful people around them,
Yes.
right? So it was a matter of building a team and having top-notch people surrounding me.
Yep.
Because I do have a life.
Yes.
You know, with all of
Yes.
those things, I still get to go on vacation and have time off.
That's important.
So,
Yeah.
it's been an incredible journey. Last year, we closed over 4,700 transactions.
Wow.
For about $2.2 billion in sales volume.
Now, is this both residential and commercial?
So we do have a commercial division. That's one of the things we're building out now. We just came in alignment with more commercial agents, and it's one of the things we will be working on. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, that's very impressive numbers, and I know, pat ourselves on the back a little bit with our company. Keller Williams globally, we're the number 1 company in agent count, transactions, and sales volume in the world. So it's a very powerful organization. And I was telling Christine on our way here, I just realized I'm going on my 10-year anniversary
Yay.
this year from Keller Williams. This is the second office company that I've worked with in my 28 years. And, so our owner, Charles Posis, who we both, all of us think the world of, he's the reason that I switched over from RE/MAX, is Charles. And, what an amazing he's just a wealth of knowledge, and having access to that real estate brain of his and the availability for an owner that is so busy and oversees so many different businesses. I don't think there's been one time he did not answer my phone call.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah,
I'm
that
the
is
one that
immediately.
answers the phone.
Yeah, that is Charles. And, I always say he's kind of our secret weapon, right?
Yes.
Because he's behind the scenes. He never wants to be in the limelight.
Right.
And having, he's a real estate attorney, doesn't
Yes.
do
That's
litigation.
great.
He,
Yeah.
he does other things. However, he can interpret things for us.
Yes.
He can help us word things. And having that in our back pocket,
Yes.
people say to me, do you like being qualifying broker for so many agents? And the answer is not always.
Sure.
Right? Because if there's a problem, that's my license.
Yep.
So in all transparency, I would not do that without that man behind me.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's the way he is. He just will take care of things, answer his phone. He always says I'm available from 7 a.m. to 11 o'clock at night, and he means it. He means it.
I've never challenged the time frame. I never
I
go
have,
that quite.
Chris.
I'm sure
I have.
you oversee a few more people than I do, but yeah, and as an agent, I can tell you that one of the most important things for me is someone that has your back, and you feel confident that if things do go sideways and you need the broker to get involved, that they have your backing. They're going to get behind you and they're going to fight for you. And Janelle, she has done that for me. Luckily it hasn't been too many times, but when needed, she comes out and she is a pit bull, and very, very lucky to have her. And then Charles, is our overall leader. It's just to have him. It's such a blessing.
Now, is he based close by, or?
He's actually down south. He works out of our Jupiter office, which is a great location for him. I actually live in Sebastian, so I travel across the 5 offices. I do about, on average, I think I'm about 160 miles a day on my vehicle because I'm all over
crazy.
the place. But that's what I thrive on, right? So Charles is more behind the scenes. He's actually the controlling partner. I'm the operating partner. So I'm in the day-to-day mix, sleeves rolled up, helping the agents. That's my number one goal, is supporting the agents and helping them grow.
Yeah, and you're definitely doing that. It's such a benefit to have that. Now, what do you see now with the market? The market is changing. It's changed significantly in the last few years, going from the time period that we've never seen and probably will never see again with the craziness coming in and out of COVID, to now it's stabilizing. We're still in a seller's market. As far as the lower inventory, the absorption rate is still well below the four months of active inventory. So what do you see happening right now?
Well, I wish I had a crystal ball, right?
You're right,
because
right.
it
Don't
depends
we
on
all?
what what you're looking at, what you're reading. But I will tell you things that I do know.
Yes.
One is Q1 of 2023. There were 300,000 less transactions than the same time period in 2022.
Okay.
So they are anticipating that 2023 there will be about 1.1 million less transactions than 2022. And 2022 was about 1 million less transactions than 2021.
Okay.
So we have right now so it's just natural supply and demand,
Sure, of
right?
course,
The less
yes.
supply, the higher the prices, because there's still a demand out
Correct.
there. And what we're seeing is buyers are standing on the sideline because they think there's going to be a major foreclosure market, right?
So they think they're gonna get a deal.
Yes, they're looking for the
Yep.
deal, and the numbers out in May were showing. For example, in Florida, there was an uptick in foreclosures. So those people that are sitting on the sidelines are saying, "See, I told you."
Right.
But that's it's starting, but it's false.
Yes,
and the
agreed.
reason it's false is we had a moratorium on foreclosures.
Mm-hmm.
So banks couldn't even foreclose on properties. We hit a historic low in 2021 of 0.11% of foreclosures for the year.
Right.
2020 was 0.23. They are historically low numbers.
Sure.
So when the numbers came out showing that there was an increase of I think it was 6% month over month, a lot of that is backlog,
Yep.
right,
Yeah.
from
Absolutely.
the moratorium. So now properties can be foreclosed on. But what people are forgetting is the majority of people have quite a bit of equity in their property.
Yes.
Right? Even the ones who refinanced and did some cashing out,
Sure.
there's equity there.
Yes.
Right? So we don't foresee that, what we saw back in 08, 9,
No.
like that's just not going to happen. But
Agreed.
people are getting false sense of, I'm waiting for that. The sellers do have a little bit of a problem. They're locked into lower interest
Yes.
rates, so they don't want to give up their property because they feel like they're, especially if they're financing, their payments are going up and they're actually getting less house because of the interest. However, life still happens.
Absolutely.
Right?
Events.
People still need
Yep.
to sell. People still need to buy. I would say right now the biggest issue we're going to face is affordability.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's hands down the insurance issues that we're hitting in Florida are
Yes.
definitely impacting the affordability. And I believe that may actually free up some of the inventory because there's a lot of people on fixed incomes who
Sure.
are not able to afford the insurance.
Absolutely. And we're seeing that a lot from the travesty that happened down in Miami where the condo building fell to the ground. And we're starting to see a lot of associations where the monthly association fees are doubling just because of that insurance component. And, people on that fixed income, it's really creating quite a bit of issues with it. And, to your point, Janelle, I know a lot of buyers ask us daily, is now the time to buy? We always say yes. If you're waiting for rates to get lower, guess what's going to happen? Everybody else is waiting for it.
Yep.
There's going to be an influx of buyers, supply, demand, and the prices of homes are going to go up. So pick your battle. And I've heard it many times. You marry the house, you rent the rate.
You date the rate.
Date the rate.
Yeah.
Yes. So that way, you can always refinance, but get in there, get secure, get your house, and stop paying these crazy rent prices that are just going through the roof.
Chris, I will take a higher rate any day over waiting on the sidelines because the prices are going to increase.
Absolutely, they
then
are.
I can't change the price,
Yes.
right? But I can refinance a loan, or just by doing, we call them mortgage hacks, doing things like paying one extra payment
Yep.
per year, cutting off years of the
Absolutely.
so what, I always laugh about that because I think when you go to buy a car, right, most times when you go in, the salesperson will say, what do you want your monthly payment to be? And I always say, I don't want to shop by monthly payment. I want to shop by how much is the
Yep.
car going to cost me over the life of the loan that I'm going to take it, or if I'm going to pay cash. And I think we need to start doing that when we look at houses too.
Sure.
Right? What can you do to get your end result over that 30 years that you pay the least amount? And
Sure.
it could be paying your mortgage payment 2 times a month, right? Like splitting it, paying one extra payment. There's different things, refinancing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So there's different things that you can do, and there's a lot of programs that are available right now to help you get into properties.
Absolutely. And, just that one extra payment for people that don't know, that will cut 7 years off of a 30-year fixed mortgage. So just the one extra principal payment per year will knock 7 years off. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's something that we always share with clients. If you're able to do so, a lot of people are, strapped right now, but if you're able to do that, it's a great way to reduce that cost overall.
Even breaking it up monthly, right? And
Yep.
dividing it up so the hit is not so hard to you financially. So we're talking about the, current market and what you're seeing from an investor standpoint. There's a lot of investors coming to our state. It's still one of the most desirable states, if not the most desirable. So what are you seeing as far as investments and what investment opportunity? Tell us what you feel about that.
It's all over the place. I'm seeing, for example, duplexes sell, and I can't get the math to work, and that scares me. Right? I'm doing the math, and I'm saying, I just don't see how this is giving them the ROI that,
Sure.
the return on investment that most investors want, but they're still moving forward with it.
Yeah.
That is one of the things that I am watching closely. because some of the math just does not work. And
Sure.
I'm saying, where is this going? That is one of my concerns. However, because there's such a shortage of affordable housing, I think that's probably why the investors are still moving forward with them, because the rent rates may come down a little bit, but they're so high.
Yes.
They're unbelievably high.
They
Absolutely.
are. And it's interesting. People are doing unique and creative things. Like my neighbor there's rentsomething.com where you can go on, you can find people maybe that are coming to the market, they're a nurse, they're in medical, and they're going to, work this area for a month or 2 or 3, and they need to rent a room.
Yes.
And so now my neighbor is starting to leverage that opportunity and rent out, she's got 3 rooms, so rent out her 3 rooms, and then she's going to buy down south. So there's some of that's taking place. It's just, it's interesting how people are, and that's paying her mortgage,
right?
And then some, right? So it's a very interesting time.
Yeah.
Are we an outlier here in South Florida compared to the rest of the country?
I would definitely say yes. The Florida as a whole, we're definitely, and especially South Florida, we're a destination. We're starting to see it. We've been seeing it with these huge corporations that are starting to move their headquarters from New York, Chicago. They're coming here, the tax benefits and the benefits of being in a free state where you're actually allowed to go out and work. So and then the beautiful weather, so we're able to have that. And so, yes, we are definitely in an area that is protected from other parts of the country. Christine and I were in a national conference. We were a couple of weeks ago, and they're starting to see the market starting to go down, and depending where they're at in California specifically with the taxes, they're just absolutely outrageous. And then again, we're sitting next to a guy that did $100 million in sales last year, him and his son. So, you definitely have people that, they're going to tough it out there. But yes, people want to come to Florida, and we want to welcome them to our state for certain.
Yeah, and we're seeing the age of the people moving to Florida is actually getting young. It's younger than it ever was, and part of that's because of companies allowing remote working.
Yes.
Different companies coming here to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I always say Florida is a totally different real estate market because there's so many people, and not just Florida, any of the retirement areas. You'll see this in parts of Arizona also, where there's a lot of retirees. People want to retire to the sunshine, the beach, the beautiful weather.
Sure.
They're here, then life happens,
Yep.
right? And so they end up having grandchildren where they want to be with their grandchildren. Unfortunately, someone maybe passes or
Sure.
becomes ill. So we have a much higher turnover rate
Sure.
here in Florida. I always say that makes it a real estate agent's dream.
Absolutely, it
because,
does.
I'm originally from Pennsylvania. People live in their home their whole entire life.
Sure.
Like they might move one time and they're there forever. So I always say this market is much more unique, and there's opportunities. There's still opportunities now, don't get me wrong. For
Sure.
investors,
Oh,
there's
absolutely.
opportunities, but I would say they're a little bit slimmer than they were maybe 2-3 years ago.
100%. That's the case now. One of my past clients, I sold her a townhouse in 2010, 2011. She bought it for $48,000. We are under contract for $275,000. So when she was crying, same one.
Oh.
So she's a Romanian immigrant and just a hard worker, just one of the sweetest ladies that you could ever imagine. And she started crying, and she just couldn't believe this. She's like, "This isn't possible." And where else but real estate can you get that return on an investment? It's just so exciting, and that makes our job so fulfilling when we're able to help people in that way.
Those are the beautiful stories that I love,
Yes.
right? And I've experienced those. I would say 96% of my wealth has come from real estate
Yep.
and making wise decisions.
Sure.
Very rarely does it go down in value,
Yep.
and if it does, it typically will come back up. It's just a matter of time that it comes back up. And the biggest piece that I think that people forget, especially when they're buying investment properties, is they'll just look at the math, but they forget to calculate in the depreciation.
Sure.
And the depreciation can actually be used as part of the income that they're getting in over time.
Absolutely.
Right? So there's all different ways to look at it on the investment, and I would just caution people because we saw this before where people they spread themselves too thin.
Yes.
And you don't want to do that, obviously.
Yep.
I tell my kids, as soon as you're able to buy a house, buy a house.
Right.
Absolutely.
Don't listen to people saying it's not a buyer's market. It's
Yep.
just buy the house.
Get into the
buy
market.
the house.
Yep.
Get into it because you're going to build equity in that property.
Yes.
And the cool thing is, if you do it right, you don't have to pay capital gains tax on it. Right?
Absolutely.
You just live in it, and then you can get out of it and not pay tax on that money.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's a beautiful
great
thing.
investment.
Yes, and for people to know that you don't have to pay tax if it's your homesteaded residence and you've lived there for the last 2 years. You don't have to pay taxes on $250,000 of your profit, which is fantastic, having that tax advantage.
Yeah, it's 2 of the 5 years. It's two
Two
of the
of the
past
5
5
years,
years.
yep.
So I can live in a house for 2 years, move out, an upgrade, and that house I can use it as a rental, whatever. As long as within the 5 years I sell it tax-free, $250,000 on the proceeds.
It's good to have my broker next to me.
Yeah.
That is
There's
fantastic.
lots of fun stuff we can do.
It's absolutely fantastic. And, part of what I wanted to get to as well is, a lot of agents are always asking, why did you choose Keller Williams? What is it that keeps you there? I get recruited quite often. People, I'm sure you hear, all sorts of people, the grass is greener. What do you say to people? What do you say to people? What is, Keller Williams? What do we offer that makes us the number one company worldwide?
Wow. I would take up the whole show.
Yes,
that,
I
but,
know.
I would say there's things that really stand out. First of all, I feel as though there's a fit, for everyone is not always going to have the same fit.
Yep.
Okay. There's great companies out there. I have
Sure.
to be super clear about that.
Absolutely.
But after doing all of the research that I did, Keller Williams just kept rising up to the top. And as a matter of fact, and I don't know if I ever told you this story, but when I spoke to Charles, our owner, and I left, I first of all, I expected to meet with this man because I knew how busy he was and who he was.
Sure.
I expect to meet with him 15, 20 minutes. 2 hours later.
There's no such thing as a 15-minute meeting with Charles.
2 hours later, I walk out and I actually thought there was no way that this could be true.
Mm-hmm.
That as an agent, I could get the rewards that he was telling me, because most times brokerages are making their money off of the agents.
Yep.
And with us, it is a little bit different. We're a profit sharing company. So I love the fact that I could get some of the profits back. The owner was giving the profits back to me. And they were, I came from a brokerage, and I see it across the industry all the time, where you really don't get to put your 2 cents in, right? You don't get to bring your ideas to the table or try to make it better. It's kind of like, here's how we run it. Suck it up, Buttercup.
Yep.
Like, you got to do what we tell you to do.
Sure.
And Keller Williams was so different. They wanted to hear about how we could make it better, what we could do, very agent-centric.
Very.
But then there's a piece, Chris, that this part, and I'm going to try to really not get to too emotional with this piece, because we do incredible things as far as culture.
Yes.
Okay. And people don't understand the culture until they experience the culture. So I have a 34-year-old daughter that has disabilities, and we had zero help when she was born. Those first couple years of her life, financially, it was draining us.
Sure,
right?
of course.
There was no one to help. And Keller Williams has something called KW Cares.
Yeah.
And we wrap our arms around the people who need us the most,
Yep.
and we lift them up, and we put them on a pedestal, and we do incredible things. So what do I mean by that? We had an agent whose son was a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the military. He had a lump on his back. He went to the medical services several times. They told him it was nothing. He got out of the military, got married, his wife got pregnant, and he went and got it checked, and it was melanoma.
Oh, no.
And it was devastating to all of us.
Sure.
We got him, he had just bought a house. We got new windows for his property. We connected with all of the people that could help him.
Right.
We paid for his mortgage, food, and all of the utilities, because it couldn't work. His wife couldn't work. She had a newborn.
Sure.
And we raised, I can't even tell you how much money. It was an insane amount, but that family never had to worry about how are we going to put food on the table, pay the electric bill, the mortgage. And unfortunately, he did pass. And, that agent, she's still with Keller Williams. It was her son.
Right.
And she said to me, I will never leave Keller Williams
Sure.
because of that.
Absolutely.
And I can sit here and tell you story after story where we just pull together, and it's, that doesn't mean we all get along. Doesn't
Right.
mean that we sit there and hold hands and sing Kumbaya,
Sure,
right?
sure,
We
sure.
have our differences, but when it comes down to it, the culture at Keller Williams is, I have never seen anything like it.
I could definitely attest to that. And, Christine, as a new agent, what is your thoughts?
Well, and to speak on that, my experience a couple months ago, and I just joined Keller in January, so a couple months ago, one of the agents, their house burnt down. And so there was this whole rally around helping her, collect money and, bring her food or clothing. She had a family. Everything burnt to the ground. So I have seen the KW agents rally, and I think that's amazing. And I love being part of a company that gives back to our community and to our people. But as far as KW and why I picked KW besides Chris. That kind of came with the territory. But what I love about Keller Williams is all the resources the training and the technology and support. So, having a CRM system or having a prospecting tool that, because it can be, pricey to get all these things on your own. So being a part of KW, I've been able to tap into these resources and the training, and there's always a calendar that's sent out every Sunday or Monday, and it's the training lineup, the classes for the week, right? So there's always something going on. There's always an opportunity for continued education, which is really important when you're taking care of one of the largest, most important moments in somebody's life, like selling their home.
Training Magazine or Training Inc., they named us #1 in training so many times. They told us we can no longer compete. We're in their we're in the Hall of Fame.
Wait a minute, you got thrown out?
We got thrown out. They gave us the boot, and they put us in the Hall of Fame. And, again, we listen to the agents.
Yes.
What is it that the agents want? Right now, agents are saying, teach me about wealth building, and we're teaching them about wealth building because no one teaches that.
Sure.
The majority of the time, brokerages are teaching the agents how to be salespeople.
Right.
We're teaching them to be business owners, how to run a profitable business and invest. Only 8% of real estate agents own an investment property. Hello, this is like, and so we're teaching them. Look, you need to invest, and then more importantly, give that back. I give back by all of my trainings are open to any agent. They do not have to be a Keller Williams agent because I am on a mission to make the industry better. Period.
I definitely, I could definitely attest to that. We're just very lucky to have the resources in place and then have the stability that you and Charles provide us with the 5 different market centers. We have access, Christine and I have access to the Vero Beach offices. We're going down for a very large listing appointment down in Palm Beach. We have access to the Palm Beach office as well as all the other offices, which is unheard of with other agents and other agencies. So Keller Williams really sets the bar high, and very, very proud to be a 10-year member of this program.
And I find that wherever I go, I travel a lot. And I can be in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas. It doesn't matter. I walk in the front door of any Keller Williams office, and they're like, "Hey, you need a conference room," or and having that network is it. I mean, come on. There's 174,000 agents in the U.S. 191,000 agents worldwide. And a lot of people don't know the power of our network, and we're flying the same flag under the same mission. We have the same value system and belief system. So it is truly a united front.
It really is. And I could tell you the compliance aspect of our office as well, although Jim sometimes drives me crazy, but you're missing in it. But, after thousands of transactions, sometimes it happens. And to have someone there checking all your paperwork to keep you out of trouble and possible litigation. It's such a benefit. I tease Jim all the time. He's one of my favorite people, and he's like, "Oh, you missed one." Like, son of a gun. I'm so mad at myself. But that know that someone's checking the checks and balances. It's such a wonderful thing.
Yeah, because one missed initial can blow a whole deal.
Absolutely.
And then you have people upset. I call him Mr. Eagle Eyes. That's Mr. Eagle Eye. I don't know how he does it, but he does not miss anything.
He does. And that's people don't realize that one initial, if a buyer's trying to get out of a contract, like we spoke about at the beginning, if there's one missed initial, they can get out of that contract. And that's a lot of liability to have as an agent, that you allowed that initial to be missed, and you have to explain to your clients that you missed something, your mistake, and this transaction is not going forward.
And on the topic of transactions not going forwards and things that can be missed, and all the details and importance of having an agent, a professional trained agent representing you in a real estate transaction, tell us why, Janelle, somebody should partner with an agent opposed to for sale by owner.
Yeah, so there's a lot of reasons, and I could go through a million of them. I always tell people it's not hard to get your house under contract. It's hard to keep it under contract. Yes. It's usually the issues that happen after that. Secondly, there's no screening process, right? Mm-hmm. And no offense, I often see people doing for sale by owners, and they're setting an appointment. They don't even know if they have a qualified buyer. By the way, most agents are not going to work with an unqualified buyer. So when you have an agent bringing someone through, more than likely they, I would say a good percentage of the time, they've been qualified, they've been vetted, we know who they are. For sale by owners, number one thing for me would be a safety issue. They're letting people into their home. They have no idea who they are.
Sure.
Often, it's maybe the wife showing the property because they can get home earlier. There's kids around.
Sure.
It's just not a good situation. That's the number one. Number two is we know that agents can typically get about 7 to 8% more, sometimes even more. I've seen up to 9%. With an agent on the transaction because they know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
So the success rate goes up having an agent. I just recently saw a for sale by owner, and I called the seller. He was grossly underpriced, and he had no idea that he was grossly underpriced.
Yeah, and it really is an investment, for the seller to hire a professional to sell for them. It's an investment in themselves because they're going to get the highest return. We're going to keep them out of the litigation that's out there.
Chris, right?
Of course.
Like, it's emotional, and they're writing up stuff that they don't even know, right?
Exactly. And we're talking about that I've done thousands of transactions. I'm still finding things that I have to call you and say, is this right? Is this right? Or this came up, this particular instance. And so, to our points, we're always learning, and we're seasoned pros.
Right.
So someone that's never seen a contract before, how can they possibly think they're doing it correctly?
And there's also something that's taking place more often today, scams.
Okay, so we don't even let me back.
Shocked.
Let me back up a little bit. A lot of for sale by owners will say, well, I'm going to have an attorney review it, and that's great.
Sure.
That you should always, if you feel you need an attorney, by all means do that. However, they're not in the field doing the stuff with the appraisers, the inspectors, things like that. So there's a whole nother realm of it. As far as the scams, it is off the charts, right? We're seeing and they're getting more and more detailed and better. Like, I just wish they're extremely clever. Yeah. So one of the things that they're doing now is we've had an issue with vacant lots, right?
Yep.
And they're being closed on, and it's not even the true owner. They're using fake notaries, okay? Mm-hmm. They're doing mail-aways. Now they've even gotten more clever. And what they do is they find properties that are being held in an LLC, and they're changing through Sunbiz the mailing address on the LLC. So when when people try to verify through snail mail, hey, is this really you? They've changed the mailing address to another location. They get it, and then they're saying, yep, this is me. And Florida has a really big problem right now with fraudulent transactions.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
this is a Sunbiz problem.
No,
They can't-
it's a real estate problem. But that issue that they're now doing, yes, because you don't need verification to change the address. You just need a legal document. You send it in, they change it. So they're getting more and more clever. However, there are ways to prevent that, and good real estate agents, good title companies, they're going to do their due diligence to make sure that these things are not closing.
Yeah. And to the point you made a little earlier, Janelle, is, I tell clients all the time, getting your house under contract, that's the easy part. Where I earn my commission and I provide my true value to you is taking you from contract to closing, because that's where all the issues are going to present, and that's where hiring seasoned professionals that know the business and know how to navigate through those problems and get you to the closing table.
And I think that's really important. You touched on commission. That's one thing I wanted to touch on. I mean, this is what we do for a living, and people think, oh, we're just going to pay you this huge amount of commission. We do so much before we even get paid, and sometimes
we don't
get paid. So when you have an agent that comes to you and says, well, I'll do it for this commission, I'll charge you this lowball commission rate. I mean,
yeah, you have to, you always look at, I always say in everything you do, I drive a nicer car. And the reason I drive a nicer car is there's a value to it, right? So there's all different models, there's all different things that people can do, and there's no right way or no wrong way.
Right.
There are no standards,
Exactly.
it's not a. However, I always say, you really do get what you pay for,
get what you
right?
pay
So
for.
I invest, and Chris, I know you do, Christine. I see you at the events. I see what's happening. You invest in yourself to
Absolutely.
be the professional,
Yeah.
right? That the majority of buyers and sellers are wanting.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people who don't do that, right? There's good and it's like I said, there's talent and non-talent in
Sure.
everything that, every industry. So make sure that you are finding someone who's investing in themselves, because I think that's the number one thing that agents do. And it's an injustice not only to the industry but to their own success, is not investing in themselves.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And because you always need to be learning, and it's so much fun, because that's one of the beautiful things with our business. No 2 days are ever the same.
No.
You just never know what's going to come at you that day. Good, the bad, and everything in between. It's the challenge of it. And at the end of the day, our goal is to help people to achieve their dream in real estate. And when you're able to do that, it's so fulfilling.
Well, Chris, I have to tell you, working with agents like you, your professionalism, you and I have a great relationship.
Absolutely,
And we
we
have
do.
great relationships with other agents.
Yes.
And working with people like you and Christine now that invest in yourselves, and you're coachable, right?
Yes.
There's been times where I've had to deliver things that you're like, oh,
Yep.
and there's been times where you've had to deliver things to me where I was like, ugh, right? But that's what makes it beautiful.
Sure.
Right? Like, you are top notch. You do incredible things. Your history it's unparalleled to, many agents in the industry.
and over
So,
3,000 clients will say the same thing.
Yeah.
That means the world to me.
Yeah.
Thank you
That's
so much
awesome.
for that. That really means the world coming from you. That really does. Speaking of that, what would you say the makeup, if someone green, my son just graduated college, he's starting law school this coming Monday, but he was thinking of real estate. Obviously, it's in the family, so
Yeah.
he's thinking that way. If someone's considering real estate, what would be the make of a great agent? How would you advise them?
Yeah, most people say, I got into real estate because I like people, and that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But talk to me in a year. We'll see how much you like. I'm just kidding.
True,
Actually,
but-
it's a lot of negotiation skills.
is.
You are a business owner,
Yes.
and that's the piece that you have to remember. Look, I consult agents for free. I would say pick up the phone, call me. I will walk you through what you need to do, because that didn't happen with me.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that is another reason why I do what I do.
Absolutely.
Because no one was there to say, hey, here, and just be transparent and clear with what happens in the industry. And I have actually coached people out of the business as well as coached people up in the business.
Sure,
Right.
that makes sense.
Because, sometimes it's just not the right fit.
Not-
But,
Absolutely.
I think it's someone who has a lot of ambition, initiative, dedication,
Yep.
and can bring consistency.
Sure.
Because usually it's the first time in their life that they don't have to report to someone.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that, to your point that you've said continuously over this hour, it is a business. And
Yes.
a lot of people don't realize that you do have to invest in yourself. You need to hold yourself accountable, set your schedule, and and really push through. Take your ego out of it, and you're a corporation. You need to do the work necessary. If you're working anywhere else, you're going to have to put in that the 40 plus hours minimum. So
Right.
what are you doing?
And there's a lot of agents out there that are great marketers,
Yep.
and they give themselves this, like you said, ego, and they look like they do amazing things.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not, they're only selling a couple transactions per
Right.
year, and that's not bad.
Right,
But
right.
understand that there's a lot of people who are quiet. Just because you're louder doesn't mean you're better, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of people who go in and just pound it out.
Yep.
They do incredible things. They provide amazing service to their clients, and they're the type of agent other people want to be around. Those are the agents I think there's no limits.
Absolutely.
There are no limits.
That's the beautiful thing. If you want to raise, talk to more people.
Yeah.
That's
That's
it.
really
That's
what
it.
at the end
Yep.
of the day.
And I think discipline's a key to all
Oh,
of
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
100%.
And mindset.
Yes. Oh,
I mean,
yeah. Yeah.
Mindset,
Yeah.
period.
So
and
I actually spend just as much time on mindset and dedication and leadership,
Yes.
right? In my world, as just as much time than I do like learning the real estate pieces of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and that's so important. The top level people, I definitely see that, and it's so great that we get to learn from you and Charles at the top, and that it just bleeds down to us agents, and being able to have you guys as this resource, because that really is the key, is the discipline, the mindset. As Christine and I going through coaching, that's what they're hammering into us, so this way we just stay at it day after day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And the results all come in when you can have that dedication,
Absolutely.
and you're putting the client before you.
There you
and
go.
That's
Yeah.
what it's really. That's why you are where you are. Chris.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really, it comes down to it. It's all, if it doesn't serve the client, it's not going to happen.
Right.
There's a lot of shadiness out there, a lot of not a lot, but there are some out there. They never last. They never do. They burn out and they're gone. This is a small town, still have that small town feel. And we know who the good people are, the good agents and whatnot. And we're lucky to be at such a great organization. So Janelle, thank you so much for taking time to join us. Our operating partner, general manager of 5 market centers, almost 1,000 agents. My goodness, I don't know how you do it, but thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's been great having you on the
Thank
show
you.
today. Thank you.
Welcome to TED Talk.
Wow. Maybe one day.
This has been so instructional.
Yes. It's we have amazing conversations. I'm very lucky to have it.
Hey, so we got to have you back. There's no doubt about it. All right. Well, boy, that does it for another Miret Team Live Real Estate Sales Talk. If you didn't learn anything from this show, there's something wrong with you. Have a good week.
Bye.